Hello, welcome. What I want to do in this video is to distribute software using a policy. Distributing software using a policy is a quick way to get it onto a lot of machines. Back a few years ago, if you wanted to put an application, Wireshark, Notepad++, whatever else, on 300 computers, then you took your 300 CDs or you created a share and went to the 300 computers and sat down and installed them. We've become a lot more efficient since then. Actually, policies have been around for a long time. NT4 had policies, but they're not used probably as often as they should be. To distribute a policy, we have to have a distribution point. Sounds really clever and complex, but what a distribution point is simply a share. So we can right click on this thing, properties, sharing, and I'm going to go to advanced sharing, and then we can share this folder as a distro. And the permissions, I really prefer read to everyone. That way users are able to see this. We could also use this as a hidden share if we chose to do so with the dollar sign. That way users aren't really all that attracted, and as long as we put it into the path, we should be okay. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to use distro. So we'll close this thing out. Now we have, when this is a Windows Server 2008, we have our share. Just to be sure that it's shared, we will go to, and let's look at our machine, 127.0.0.1. Did I get that right? Yeah. And we have our distro share. And inside our distro share, we have the different things that we're going to use. And again, to kind of hide this from your users, you may want to use the dollar sign with the hidden share. If I go into one of these things, what I'm going to have is an MSI file or Windows installer file to be able to actually make this thing work. There are, say, Windows installer files and MSI file. There are two types of installs that we can do. We can publish it to users. When we publish it to users, then only the users that we specify, the default is everyone obviously, but it shows up in their add remove programs, and they can add remove a program from the network. The other way to do it is to assign it, and applications software can be assigned to either users or to computers. When they're assigned, they actually get installed or get a partial install when the computer either starts or the user logs on. The shortcuts are all there. The users is a partial install, and it actually completes the installation when you activate the application. So let's go in here and let's do a couple of these things. We'll go to Administrative Tools, the Group Policy Management console. And in here, let's open this thing up and go into our domains. And in our domain, we're going to have our group policy objects. Once we have the group policy objects, and the default ones are the default domain controllers policy and the default domain policy. If I want a new one, I'll right click here and create a new policy. And let's just call this something clever like apps. A starter GPO, we don't have any. These would be the template, so to speak, in order to create that policy from. So I have an apps here. If I go in here and edit it, I go back to, if you use Windows Server 2003 server, you right clicked on the domain or whatever else, and you created the policy there. In 2008, we have the group policies area that we create all of our policies, and then we link the policies to the locations that we want. So in the computer policy, if I go to the software settings, software installation, let's do a new package, and when we do our new package, it's going to ask us where we want to go. It's looking for MSI packages. One of the things that I see happen a lot is users go in here and use the directory instruction C:\E:, and mine is E:\, distro / whatever I'm going to do with this thing. If you do that, it will work on this computer only unless you copy all those files to the same location. What you have to do here is go to the location of the share, and in this case I'm just going to use the IP address, but don't remember what it is, so let's find it, and it is 192.168.3.5, so I should be able to go to / 192.168.3.5 and find my distro, which again, remember we configured it to read to everyone, and you've got to be able to read these files in order to install them. So let's put Wireshark in here, and we have our MSI file, so we'll select our MSI file, and since we're using a computer, we don't have the option to publish here. We can only do assigned or advanced. I'll look at advanced this way, and I won't look at advanced the other one. It's just a window that you can open after you get done to look at the properties. So we can say OK on this thing and wait for us to get going. Deployment, my name's going to be Wireshark. Deployment, it's assigned. Uninstall this application when it falls out of the scope of management. We can click that. That's something like if we moved the machine out of the domain, then it would automatically uninstall the program for us. Upgrades, if we had any upgrades, these are patch files can go in here. If we had categories, if we had a lot of different applications, we could put categories, and then users could find those much more quickly. Any modifications? And then the security. The security says that authenticated users can read this, the creator, owner, read, write, special permissions. Domain admins, you notice we have all of the options here whenever we do these things. Enterprise domain controllers, different security capabilities of these things when we go through them. The advanced options, very similar to what you would have with NTFS options. So we have now created this thing, and it's assigned so that wherever we link it to, we'll be able to it's going to get installed for these machines. While we're here, let's go ahead and let's do a user policy, software installation. Let's right click on it, do a new package, and in this one let's go back here and let's do Notepad++ for it, just for the heck of it. Notice we have the option to publish, assigned, and then the advanced again. Let's publish this one so that it shows up in the user's add remove programs. So published. MMC detect an error in the snap-in, shut it down, continue running and ignore the errors. Let's see what that does for us. Not real happy with me right now, is it? And in spite of the fact, let's see here, it published it for me anyway, the location, the distro, the MSI file. The advanced, if I wanted to get there, auto install, we can change it to assign, and we can swap back and forth on these things if we want to. Remove the application, redeploy the application. If I go into the properties, I get the same window, the same configuration options that I had if I had used the advanced tab. So we can go through this thing, and again, this one, deployment's published. I got to change it to assign, uninstall when it falls out of the scope. Same basic configurations that we had with the other one. That's real quick and simple. This is the way to do application installation using policies in Windows Server 2008, or Windows Server 2000. Let's go one step further and see if we can actually make these things apply. What I have done is gone back and created a demo folder and put a user in here. This is a domain controller. So since it's a domain controller, I'm going to go to the domain controllers policy and edit it, and I'm going to allow this user to log on locally, because as you know, only people with the authority are allowed to log on locally to servers and domain controllers. The domain controller is in there in the Windows settings, security settings, and local policies. User rights around the world allow log on locally. Account operators, administrators, backup operators, and print operators, server operators can do this. So let's see if we can add a user here. And let's see. Yeah, let's try this. Check names. Here we go. Karen. So we're going to, I didn't want that Karen. I want this one, this Karen, to be able to log on locally to this thing. Also, I need to go back here and configure my policy. So let's link an existing group policy to the domain just to try to simplify things. I could also link it to, so that it applies to Karen. The reason I want to do this is, actually we'll put it in the domain controllers, because the domain controllers is where my machine is. So in order to get the assigned to the computer, I'm going to have to use it there. Drop focus there for a minute. If I just linked it here, the default domain policy and all that stuff should be inherited into these other OUs. So I'm going to pause the video here for a moment and do a restart and see if I can log on as Karen. What I'm going to do a restart is because typically, actually, I guess we could just try the to force a group policy update is gp update /force, which will then update the policies. Typically for computer policies, you're going to have to restart the system in order to apply a lot of them. Not as bad as it used to be, but while this thing's updating, and as you recall, users get their policies when they log on. So the user policy and OK to restart, I'm going to say yes, and then while it's doing the restart, I'm going to pause the video. Okay, the machine has restarted, so let's see if we can get logged in here. Let's do other user, and let's use our ordinary user and see if, looks like it worked. We're applying the user settings, so we're getting in here, preparing my desktop. Okay, so when we get here, Wireshark is installed, and that was the one that we assigned or ready whenever you start the machine. The other thing that we did was to publish to the user Notepad++. I don't want to turn Windows features off and on. So let's see here. We can install a program from the network, Notepad++. I should be able to right-click install it because it's been published to the user. It would not have been on the system until we went into the add remove programs, and then we have our Notepad++. I think I'm going to stop here, and I hope that this has been useful on how to deploy applications using policies in Windows Server 2008. I hope this has been useful, and thank you for watching.